Hey there. Um, so I've been thinking a lot about our inner demons. So basically, this talk is about how messy my hair is. um, all great people who've done extraordinary things in life. Um, my glasses are crooked. Have inner demons. And it's kind of like, you can't have a comfortable life and really expect to do something great with your life. So this talk is really about greatness and how greatness is a it almost requires, I think it does require you to have some inner demons. So I looked up a list here of some greats that had really substantial inner demons. Vincent van Gogh, Frida Kahlo. So Vincent van Gogh, he dealt with depression, anxiety, maybe bipolar disorder. Frida Kahlo, she had lots of emotional and physical pain throughout her life. Abraham Lincoln felt, faced depression. Steve Jobs and his intense ambition really sort of isolated him in a lot of ways. Elon Musk, that was the one that came to mind to me first. Walter Isaacson's wonderful biography of him really shows how he was he fights his inner demons that were really embedded by his father, and how those, he goes literally, they call it demon mode, when he goes into this mode where he just, kind of goes bananas to get stuff done. So the point is, Winston Churchill fought depression, Oprah Winfrey, Walt Disney, lots of doubt and struggles, and Nelson Mandela, lots of anger and being in prison for 27 years. So you don't get greatness without demons. And a lot of times those are, or they're all in one form or another, an inner force, an inner, we call it I'm calling it a demon force. It's what we call a negative emotion. Um, really like my glasses to straighten out. So I did another video where I talked about inner family systems and how you, instead of trying to fight your negative emotions, you kind of embraced this multiplicity of self. Here, I'm going to see if I can bring up the board here that I made. I should have done this first. That's okay. Daughter picture. There we go. So this was a talk that I did on the multiple personality order. Let's see if I can get this in here so you can kind of see it a little better. But these would be considered, in a lot of ways, sort of demons that I have. So, for example, let's see, that's a little hard to see. Anxious Adam, addicted Arnold, negative Norman. That's the one that is really the most debilitating for me. It's a part of myself in which, I just get super critical and negative about my life. So, but here's the thing. A lot of us think that, I think this is the mistake that most of us make. We think we need to kind of get rid of those parts of ourselves. And I think that's totally the wrong approach. And what you need to do instead is, or what works for me, and I think it works for a lot of people if you really just try this technique, is try to harness it. I know I've told this story on another video, but the story of the tar monster, it's an old sort of Arthurian knights type tale where the knight goes out into the dark forest um, and he's trying to, get the treasure. And he goes out there and he encounters the tar monster, and then he tries to stab the tar monster, and his sword sticks to him, and then he tries to use his axe and it sticks to him, and his knife and it sticks to him, and then he punches him with his one hand, it sticks to him, and he punches with the other hand and it sticks to him, kicks him with the other hand, kicks him, and then heads butt him, and then he's completely stuck to the tar monster. So he can't fight it. So then finally he yields and asks the tar monster what it wants. And the tar monster's like, well, I've just been trying to protect you this whole time. And then he becomes his power, a power that he integrates into himself. So when you're feeling anxious, like I have a friend who they live part-time on their catamaran, like half the season of their catamaran, half the season of their home. They have a beautiful life. And by all accounts, she'd be like an extremely anxious person, but she channels that anxiousness into keeping her physical space incredibly orderly and pristine. And that order really gives them a power in order to, to take care of things and to get more things done than you would normally get done. If you look at really high functioning people, a lot of times they'll have that really orderly life, So the point is that anxiousness, you could go and like take a Zoloft or Xanax or whatever kind of drug and try to conquer it. And then the other point of this, a wonderful saying that I've really tried to live my life by, and I recommend everyone live their life by, is be careful when you're exercising your demons. Heinrich Zimmer, I think, is who said this. No, it wasn't Heinrich Zimmer. That you don't throw out the best part of yourself. So this is kind of the point. And instead of trying to get rid of all your negative traits, that doesn't help. You kind of turn into like if you're always sort of psychoanalyzing and like getting rid of all these negative parts of yourself, you turn into mush. And that's kind of like, you see people who are on these antipsychotic meds, and they've gone down a path, which is fine. Like, I'm not recommending that if that's what your doctor says that you don't do that, like, go ahead and do that. But I'm saying for most of us, for most healthy individuals, instead of trying to conquer this negative part and like get rid of it, see it as a potential power that you haven't actually been able to put in its proper place. So when I'm dealing with anxious Adam, like literally, so if you go back to the inner family systems idea, Richard Schwartz, I believe it is, I go in and I'm like, okay, what does anxious Adam need? So right now, so I live on a huge property, and I've got multiple houses and a homesteading project and lots of dilapidated structures. This part of me needs me to, make sure that my finances are on an organized spreadsheet, because that's like primary, right? Organized spreadsheet for finances, so that we're spending less than we're earning. That's number one. Number two, like, make sure that my office space is clear and organized. Number three, make sure that my work truck, when I go out on an electrical job or a contracting job, that all my tools are perfectly organized. Those are like three minimums. Anxious Adam says that has to be done, or I start feeling out of sorts. So that's like it's like a demon that drives me. He's the organization demon. It's not comfortable. When things get out of sorts, like, he's the one who chimes up, that part of myself that chimes up. So, and then, negative Norman that's what he's kind of the emergency demon. Like, when things have gotten so bad. So the last time in the video that I made about negative Norman, he was telling me I was in the shower and I was super negative, and I wasn't making these videos. I wasn't doing my really high level, what I think is my most important work. And so then when I wrote down the lesson here, is like, listen to your deep inner self. That's what negative Norman taught me to do. But that's a demon. It's a negative part. It's like something from my childhood was traumatized, And the response was to get super negative and critical and to just really bring myself down. But it really wasn't, it's not about bringing myself down. It was about like making me stop and listen. So all of these demons are really, they're trying to motivate you in a direction. That, I guess, is probably a big thing that I want to leave you with here, is that if you try to shut down or push away these parts of yourself that come up, um, you're shutting down a power. And that power, that's why I'm calling this a superpower, like unlock your superpower. When you listen to them and then let them motivate you, then you open something up. So I listened to that part of myself, and now it opening me up and in making me move in this direction of doing this kind of work, which is really important. Um, yeah. So, and then let's see. I don't know if there's any other here that are kind of ringing out right now. I think the anxious part and the negative part are the two ones that are driving me. It may be anger. Maybe there's an anger there, and that anger, instead of trying to shut it down, like, okay, I'm gonna take a med or go get a therapy session or whatever, just stopping and being with that anger, and then see what's behind it, and what would alleviate that anger, not in the sense of like, going out and getting revenge, because I don't think that's probably ever a good idea. But if you were to do, for example, let's say you went out into the world and somebody blamed you for something that you didn't do, and then you got angry. But the anger is probably really not about them and them blaming you for something that you didn't do. Let's say you installed. I just did an electrical sub panel. So you installed an electrical sub panel, and they were like, "You did that wrong," and you're like, "Oh, okay, sorry." Maybe that's how it went. Like that's kind of what it would likely go for me. And then I got home and I get angry. And I wasn't so much angry at that them, although it seems like I'm angry at them. I'm more angry at myself for not putting up the appropriate boundary. We'll say, like, I don't accept the blame for this. Um, Let me first see if, in fact, you are right. And then if you are right, then I'll take the blame. But, maybe it's going to take me some more time. So, for example, that's something for me, like to actually, some people want an immediate response. And a lot of times I need to go back into myself, think things through, ground, quiet myself. And then I'll realize, like, oh, that was my fault. Or, oh, no, that wasn't my fault. Um, Makes it look really funny when I try to straighten my glasses. Um, that's another whole lesson in and of itself, is this, um, slowing down when other people want you to um, respond to them immediately, just to give yourself the space. I wonder what part of myself that would be. um, These are mostly all the negative stuff. Would probably be the angry atoms, what I call them. Set clear boundaries. See right there. So since I've worked with this idea of the different parts of myself, each one in green, I don't know if the green probably doesn't show up very well, but this part of myself, the angry part, anger is usually about setting boundaries. It's usually about, like, you haven't set a clear boundary, or someone truly did violate your boundaries and needs to be told not to do that again, or you need to, take some sort of corrective action. I don't know what that would be. Um, might be useful to, so tired Timmy, that need is follow your heart, stay balanced. I think that's pretty good. So harness your inner demons. So maybe a good place to start would be to at least try to map out yourself, map out some of your demons. Again, for me, my biggest ones now are anxiousness, negativity, um, occasionally anger. I've gotten pretty good with boundaries. Um, and then maybe a tiredness. And that would be, a tiredness is when, I think the real lesson of when you're feeling like a downness, a tiredness, is you're not engaged enough in the world and doing what feels like you can be doing to be of service to others, while at the same time um, harnessing your unique interests and passions. Um, there's a lot of people are really listening to Jordan Peterson right now, um, and he really hammers this idea of service. But I think he glosses over too much, in my opinion. Um, your personal passion and interest, and combining the two. Um, so much about service and sacrifice, and that end of it. But I think there needs to be both. You have to marry. So Joseph Campbell was kind of the predecessor of Jordan Peterson in terms of, it just started raining, in terms of bringing Jung's work and mythological approach to a broader audience. And Joseph Campbell would talk about following your bliss, and Jordan Peterson would talk mainly about like self-sacrifice and service to the community. And so you have to marry those two. They both come together in a fully realized and enlivened and useful self. So start to map out your demons, and then on each demon, try to find out what is it trying to tell you? What's the lesson that it's trying to tell you? Another interesting thing is to try to map out, right here, it says age. What's the age that this began? Like, when did you first experience anger? When did you first experience anxiousness? When did you first experience depression or negativity? Um, and if you can map that, then you can sort of see, because you're talking to yourself and you're applying the strategies of, say, a 7-year-old who's anxious to a 55-year-old's life. Like, this is just what we do, and we don't realize that we're doing it until when you map it out and see it, then it loses some of its power, and you can actually embrace it. So that's the key then. I don't want it to lose power. That's the point. The point is, these negativities can drive you when they're harnessed. And they do. Like, all these greats, they had these huge inner demons, and that's what drove their greatness. And that's the thing. That's what I kind of want to leave you with, is don't exercise your demons. So if you in exercising your demons, make sure you don't throw out the best part of yourself, because those demons will drive you to be a Michelangelo, or to be a Frida Kahlo, or to be a Steve Jobs, or to be an Elon Musk, or whatever it is that, or to be a Gandhi or an MLK, whatever those things are. You don't go to therapy and cure yourself. Again, that's fine. I think therapy's fine. But what I'm saying is, there's a kind of therapy where you're harnessing these deep parts of yourself, which they're really not going to go away anyways. They're going to either be like sort of entrenched and suppressed. And I have to say that there's many types of therapy. Like, a lot of people will go to therapy, they'll find a therapist that self-reinforces all your old sort of bad habits that you're trying to get rid of. It's very difficult to be willing to go to a therapist who's actually going to crack you open, or it could take a very, very long time. So, number one, name your whatever you see your demons to be. Just start sort of identifying them. Number two, try to figure out what need it is that they're telling you about. That this negativity doesn't arise in a vacuum. I had a friend who would always get so much anger around his relationship. And I kept trying to tell him, like, that's not happening in a vacuum. There's some way that you're being in the relationship that's not working. And he would kind of get lost in the anger of the relationship, rather than like looking at, like, what is that inner drive? Like, and it's not, and it can be from you, or it could be from the partner, a boundary that's not being set. Again, anger is usually boundaries. So maybe there's a boundary that's being violated that you need to say, like, maybe they're calling you names in a passive aggressive way, and you don't even really know that it's happening until you slow down and self-reflect on it. And then you can see, like, okay, I lashed out, so that was not appropriate. but they actually called me names, and that's not appropriate either. So then I'm gonna practice not lashing out, and I'm gonna request that they don't call me names. So then you upgrade to the next level. So after you've named and asked those parts what their need is, try to figure out what age they are, and actually figure out some way to take that action and take an action around that. So I'm going to sign off because my family's coming in from the rain. I hope somebody found that useful. And if you have questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll do a follow-up. Have a wonderful day.